Hey Hassan, we know you're going to react to this video, so we want to invite you to be in an episode of Middle Ground.
This is crazy! I can't believe they did this, dude. I can't. They broke the fourth wall. You're not supposed to do this.
Be a one-on-one discussion with someone like Ben Shapiro, so it'll be great if you can announce your participation here first, and we can get Ben's attention. For now, enjoy the video.
Hassan Piker versus Ben Shapiro, an episode of Middle Ground. I mean, I'm down, but like, I doubt that he would do it.
Teachers have their own political agendas. Step forward if you agree.
I'm so down to debate Ben Shapiro. I just don't think he would ever do it. You know what I mean?
I think it's important to recognize that individuals will have political agendas. It's a natural thing, and people should understand their political views. I think where we need to differentiate it is whether a teacher should have a political agenda in a classroom.
But is your idea of a political agenda like these teachers telling students, this is who you should vote for, if you vote for these people, it's wrong.
Yes,
if you vote for
or
these
ridiculing
people, it's right.
the beliefs that they may have for political or religious reasons, and using their position of authority to mold the minds of everyone else.
When it comes to diversity or these new sort of terms, I am not for certain types of what so-called diversity when it comes to these new kind of topics. And
Can you expand upon that? Like, what do you think
like
shouldn't be
critical
included?
race theory or some of the...
Bro, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. These new topics like racism, okay? Topics like history, black history from the perspective of a black person. The concept is something you can apply to everything, dude. It is literally, you're upset at the fundamentals at that point. If you're saying, I don't like the idea of children's minds being molded by random strangers, you're not upset at liberalism. You're upset at the concept of teaching. It's literally like a fucking stupid person saying, oh, how do you know that you didn't experience it personally? It's like, yeah, dude, you're literally defining how education works. You're talking about foundational principles. You're talking about how people fucking learn, okay? You didn't fucking experience everything. You didn't invent the wheel. Someone else did. You're just taking advantage of it. It's so stupid.
Gender ideologies. It's not diverse if you're the teacher, the person of authority in the classroom, and you are saying this is how something should be.
Yeah, so I come from an elementary perspective. I'm a first grade teacher, so the conversations we're having in class isn't about the socioeconomic nature of the world, but you know, we do talk about just what it looks like for different people in different communities.
Typical Bernie bro, writing off a black woman's argument before she even finishes it. Yeah, of course, dude. Misogynoir is when you criticize a conservative parent's idiotic fucking perspective on the concept of teaching.
So when I talk about a political agenda, the agenda that I have in the classroom is to create an environment where folks are able to, better understand from
Mason is
where
the HasanAbi
someone's
head.
coming from.
The problem with
boy.
that, and I understand the sentiment as a teacher, if a child is sitting there and they happen to be black and you're saying, well, black people, such and such and such. I mean, you're really, that's not okay.
I do have to stop you there because that's not really said. It's not said black people do this.
Well,
it's not said
it's just an
Mexicans do
example.
this. Again, it's trying to understand from multiple perspectives. That's not saying that every group aligns on the same thought. That's not saying every group is a monolith. What it's saying is, even if you disagree with somebody or you come from a different tradition or a different cultural background, those people's opinions can still be valid.
I'm gonna be honest, as a teacher, especially after COVID and all of that, I don't have time for a political agenda. I'm here trying to catch up with curriculum, pick up my readers that are, 2, 3 grade levels behind. I do not have time for that. I teach social emotional skills and all of that, but I'm not here to kind of, you need to believe this and that. No, if you're a good person, we're good, we're gravy. All good, you know what I mean?
But your definition, and sometimes this can happen and it becomes political, is what is your definition of a good person? Would you think that I'm a good person because I'm raising my kids to be with Judeo?
Dude, only a conservative would say, oh, you're making your definition of what it means to be a good person. No one on the planet is like, actually being a good person is a political concept, okay? The only people that say this are conservatives. I've never heard a liberal go, fucking, actually, like, being a good person is subjective. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. You just know that your fucking worldview is like designed around hatred. And some of your core principles, which by the way goes for liberals too, especially when you talk about like economic subjects, but like your worldview unironically revolves around like going against like fundamental principles that we teach our children at an early age by calling it socialism or communism. Like sharing is caring, okay? Like you have rewired your brain into thinking that that is a bad thing. Like right off the jump, you're like, oh, LaFontaine, don't read that shit, brother. You fucking kidding me? I don't read that French garbage. That's communism, brother. Sharing is caring. Get the fuck out of here. Sharing is communism. That's it. That's literally a fundamental principle instilled upon people from an early age. Peace is good, okay? Let peace lead the way. Love is love, okay? These are all concepts that are antithetical to the conservative project, okay? That's why they lose their fucking shit. That's why they're like, well, actually, let's argue about the ethics behind whether or not, you're actually a moral person. Let's argue about whether or not, good and let's argue about good and evil. It's like, no, dude. They just mean like be nice, be kind to others, be nice. Like those sorts of fucking values are good. But you have been brain broken, which is precisely the reason why you think be nice is a political subject.
Judeo-Christian values, and they live in a heteronormative home where we talk about how divorce is wrong, cheating is wrong. We have friends of the LGBT community, but we teach our children that from a biblical perspective, that's not okay. Your definition of whether or not they are good could be very different than my definition of whether or not they are good.
Yeah, because you're a bad person. You're a fucking freak. You're a freakazoid, dude. Holy shit. Your concept of good and mine can be so wrong it's just like, it's insane. No liberal is like, that's the main difference. You want to know what the main difference is? No fucking progressive, liberal, whatever parent is teaching their children that it's bad to be straight, okay? That's a you thing, dog. You are the problem. No gay parent is like, hey, by the way, if you want to fuck like, the members of the opposite sex, like you can't do that. That's not a thing. You're the only dumbass doing it.
To kind of clarify, in my classroom, if they're kind and they're not bashing anybody, judging anybody, kind of throwing out names, anything like that, it's not to say that topics like that don't come up in class. And I do open it up to discussion. I just keep it clear that this is a safe space. We don't judge each other. We're not going to bash each other.
It's going to be Austin. No, Austin is way too... Unironically, Austin is so fucking straight-coded, he wouldn't even be able to do that.
I understand you have your own experiences, but we're not going to come in with an agenda, you can say. And I feel like this idea of parents and their teachers of their political biases and all of this is just all of this fear that is clouding their judgment, clouding...
Except we have numerous, not just...
We have experiences.
Yeah, my own child, first week of school, what pronouns you wanted to go by. I mean, not what's your favorite subject, how can I help you succeed academically?
Who's to say that wasn't a part of the questions too, And I understand that question could stand out.
So maybe you don't understand that you're teaching politics.
But that's not politics. That's just like basic respect. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
But it's not to me.
That's beautiful.
Not to me.
So I think you need your idea that that's basic respect. What is the framework of that? Because I think that many teachers are going through these trainings, and the trainings are saying this is the framework of how we operate in the classroom. But where did that idea come from?
Because it's based off. It's called a thing called data.
Did you do that?
No, hold on. A lot of schools have research and development, and so the state also does. So in the state of California, we do research. So at the end of the day, my job is not just to make your kid to feel comfortable. I got 55 students. I got to make 55 students feel comfortable.
Own their asses.
So when your kid-
They're fraudulent. Own them. Own their asses. I got to say something here, by the way. Okay. Conservatives love talking about how big, brave boys and girls they are until pronouns come in. And then they're like, wow, holy shit. Their brains break immediately. They're like, whoa, pronouns? That's fucked up. It's like, why? Why is that fucked up? You have pronouns, idiot. Everybody has pronouns. Like, what the fuck kind of dumb take is that? They're unironically advocating for gender abolition. They're like, no pronouns. That's not real. I hate that. I don't want pronouns.
Kid comes home and tells you, well, Mom, the teacher said, what's my pronouns? Yeah, I did say, what's your pronoun? I also said, what's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite food? I am a college.
That's unacceptable. These libtard teachers are asking our children what their favorite TV shows are. It's fucked up. It's Fox News, Tucker Carlson. That's what. You better not be asking my child what their favorite TV show is. How about you, an adult male, talking to a child, teaching them, indoctrinating them? That's fucked up. It's like, yeah, dude, you just described the concept of going to a school.
College professor now. I was previously a 3rd, 4th grade teacher. Teaching 3rd and 4th grade was horrible. Dealing with parents who thought their child was special and should be treated a certain way. It just wasn't doable. The constant complaining, the accusing people of doing things that are not going on in our classes, not being enough for their child. It was just too much. When parents don't have the knowledge of what goes on inside of a school, I think it's important for those parents to go to the school. And we as educators like our parents to be involved. You know, again, I have too many
Be careful what you wish for, my man. Oh no.
Students to push an agenda. I do my job, what they pay me to do.
Discussion about sex doesn't belong in school.
It's like, bro, they're teachers, dog. They teach. Like, every aspect of human existence is being taught in schools. Like, you don't get to pick and choose that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a crazy fucking concept. Holy shit, dude. Like, you can't, you're just anti-sex ed. Like, that's wild. Sex education, okay, has well, and I'm talking about non-abstinence only sex education, because some states do offer sex ed, but it's just abstinence only. Outside of abstinence only sex education, states that actually do offer sex ed demonstrably have positive impacts on curbing back teenage pregnancies and child pregnancies. Isn't that crazy? That's wild that if you look at a fucking map of states that don't allow sex ed, and then you look at teenage pregnancies, it's almost like there's a correlation there.
I had a sex ed class when I was in 3rd grade, and it was quite simple. Boys go in this room, girls go in this room, they play a little video on a black and white TV. You know, you see the genitalia, and you're like, oh God, I got one of those, cool, now we're figuring out what I am. The fear is these schools have no...
Bro, this is also another hilarious part of like new age conservatism, is that like a dude that looks like this, if you look like a Horizon Zero Dawn character, it's breaking my brain. You know what I mean? Like, I expect you not to be conservative, okay? Like, I just immediately, my assumption is like, you're not going to be a conservative person. And not every bike messenger looking motherfucker is like, I'm conservative, actually, okay? It's crazy. QAnon has like broke so many crunchy granola motherfuckers' asses, dude. Like, if you look like you're coming back from Burning Man, do not tell me about like, you know, gender binaries, dude.
Boundaries. Like if they do the classroom thing where they want to split kids up, how many genders are we going to do this? We're going to put boys, them, and then girls, and then how many rooms do we need to create for equality? Or are we really chasing equity? And I think parents now are beginning to realize we've got to stop this and create framework about sexuality, especially in a hyper-sexualized culture. My kids don't need to know at 6, 7, and 8 years old about different types of sexual acts. That's not appropriate.
People think
this is such a fucking... Dude, why are they arguing over shit that doesn't happen in schools, man? It's like, bro, that's not happening. Like, your teacher is not teaching. Oh my God, dude. It's literally just made up. Like, 80% of the conservative grievances are just made up, okay? You're like, oh, where'd you hear that? The friend of mine's a teacher. And they told me. It's like, no, they didn't. You just saw that on a fucking Facebook post.
I think that this is just kind of happening. It's a one-off. It is in so many schools. Where I live in Florida, there was a poster going around where kids could text anonymous strangers to get information about sex. And on this poster in school, want to get laid?
Wow.
That's not true.
I mean, it's beyond, and there is a push for pleasure-based sex. Pleasure for who?
My oldest is 9 years old. She's in 3rd grade, and she's been exposed to...
What the fuck? Bro, what is she saying? You're living in a universe where, like, even addressing the psychotic shit that you're saying is insane. It makes me look like an insane person.
To things, and we do have conversations about it, but that's a conversation that I should be having with my 9-year-old daughter. If a 6th grader or a 4th grader is going to be prompted by a teacher, hey, what are your pronouns? As a parent, I should have a heads up about that, because they're not even going to understand the question. And so I think that the idea that those conversations are started in the classroom instead of in the home is a big problem.
I have a family member who first day of 6th grade was asked for her pronouns.
That's a
and
great
she stood up
take.
and said that as a person
person of faith, she believed that God didn't make a mistake making her a girl, and so therefore she identified as a she, her, and she was sent to the principal's office and punished for that decision. Thankfully, we haven't seen that broadly yet, but I think it's really damaging to take a shy, innocent 11-year-old child and make them stand in front of a classroom and determine.
Wait, what? Who was punished for what?
So therefore she identified as a she, her, and she was sent to the principal's office.
What? There's no fucking way that someone was punished for saying they're she, her. They definitely said way more than that, okay? No, like no 11-year-old is being punished for saying I'm she, her. They were like, you're not they, them. You're going to jail. They're going to jail.
Mistake making was asked for her pronouns, and she stood up and said that as a person of faith, she believed that God didn't make a mistake making her a girl, and so therefore she identified as a.
She said God didn't make a mistake making her a girl. Even that in and of itself, like, is not enough, I don't think. Like, she definitely did some more shit than that. Like, yeah, she was being fucking cheeky as always, but like still, I'm sure there was way more than that before that was like the reason why.
She, her, and she was sent to the principal's office and punished for that decision. Thankfully, we haven't seen that broadly yet, but I think it's really damaging to take a shy, innocent 11-year-old child and make them stand in front of a classroom and determine something that they maybe haven't even put that much thought into.
Yeah, she hasn't put that much thought into it. She's just repeating what her fucking dumbass parents have said, most likely.
I like what you said, Sean, about how you were emphasizing, how a lot of parents today felt a goodness of the way that sexual education was conducted in the past. So there is an agreement that sexuality should be talked about in schools. The disagreement is whether it should just be purely heteronormative or if we should include all aspects of
Yeah,
sexuality.
Mason, get them.
I don't think that we're doing demonstrations to encourage children how to have sex, but this is something that we are trying to, again, educate and make them aware that this kind of things happen. And while you grow up, you're going to have to experience somebody who's of this orientation.
I sure would hate to learn that school was making my kids think about stuff they didn't normally think about. Yeah. Yeah, again, 41 minutes. The entire video revolves around conservative argument for this is literally just, I'm actually anti-education, okay? That is exactly what every argument revolves around, a fundamental flaw, okay? One side is like, well, we have a job, which is to teach your children things that they didn't know about, okay? And then the other side's like, fuck that. That's actually fucked up. Don't do that. I don't want you to do that. Like, you don't have a problem. You have a problem with school. Like, you have a problem with the concept of learning. You have a problem with the concept of education. That's what you have a problem with.
For years, I was made fun of and heard, well, how are you going to know if you don't try it? We hear that a lot too. If you haven't tried to kiss a girl to see if you like it or not, then how do you really know that you're not a lesbian? How do you really know that you're not gay if you've never slept with a guy? How do you really know that you want to be in a monogamous relationship if you don't sleep around?
Bro, she's like, I have intrusive thoughts. I will tell you right now, I have intrusive thoughts. Sometimes I like to think about, okay? Sometimes I like to think about the pool boy. Sometimes I like to think about the librarian. She is very attractive. She got those round spectacles, and I think she makes me tingle in places I never thought about. It's like, what are you saying? What the fuck? You are literally against exploration because you want people to repress their feelings because of the fear, which is unreasonable if we think about the entire population, but certainly a reasonable fear for you that you might like it. Okay? That's crazy.
And their emotional and hormonal maturity is not there to be making those types of decisions that have lifelong impact.
Well, you're right, and a lot of them are learning at home because just like you guys are saying, they come home to tell you things. Well,
by the way, the other hilarious part about that argument is that, like, she is right technically, but not in the way that she thinks she is. If you repress your sexuality like that, yes, of course, sooner or later, it is going to lead to complications in your life.
Guess what? Those same kids come to school and talk about what you're telling them at home. You'll be surprised what I hear from students when I do a "What do you think?" Well, let me tell you what my mama and daddy did. And look, I don't have time. Your kid is not that important to me. Not to be rude, I got like 300 students. Your kid is no more important than the other 299. So I don't have time to sit up here and let me get you to think.
This is a really good take, by the way. Like, highlighting how selfish conservative parents are. Remarkable take. 100% on point. It's great.
like me. I can't
You
get
know he's had to deal with a lot of parent-teacher conferences, by the way. Like that's coming from a place of a lot of experience.
my own 23-year-old to think like me. At the end of the day, what needs to happen, and this is just my own personal take, parents need to start being parents, because a lot of times the teachers are the parents. They're parenting your kids because absentee parenting.
I think that this conversation is really interesting, and I think we need to step back and look at why we automatically assume that if we're telling our children about lesbians, gay people, queer people, why do we immediately equivocate that to telling them about what sex is? That can just be something as simple as, here is a book. In this book, there are 2 dads. This book character has 2 dads. And kids, they can be inquisitive, and that's good, right? But also, like, they're gonna be like, cool, there's 2 dads.
All these kids know that there's a dad and a dad and a mom and a mom, and the culture is teaching all of that. So what we've noticed is that the curriculum in 8th grade and up is a lot deeper than that. It's more like, here is how you can have sex so you do not get pregnant. That is the stuff that we're now reacting against, and that sadly is
here's how you can have sex without getting pregnant is like important. Like usually from what I understand or from what I've seen, it's just like a banana and a fucking condom. Safe sex measures, which is good. That's literally what you're supposed to learn. How to prevent STIs, things like that. That's it. Which is, you're going to learn that. You're going to need to learn that. It is demonstrably a positive thing to learn. It's like, it's so weird that we're so puritanical that like sex is categorized as like a broadly different thing. Like, motherfucker, at that point, they're learning about war. Can you imagine parents pulling up and being like, I can't believe they're teaching about World War I and II to our children. A lot of people died. I don't let them watch R-rated movies. Why are we letting them watch R-rated? Why are they learning about R-rated history? It's like, what the fuck?
Is the trust that's being broken between
This is one of the conservative parents.
Yeah, and I think we're moving into a conversation about comprehensive sex ed. What I am talking about is when I go into this classroom and I'm teaching kids, I'm not going to just teach kids material that is heteronormative.
I want there to be equality in the classroom. What I am saying is that there are factual instances where this is being taught in classrooms. I pulled my children out of public school because there are so many instances of this happening. I am a parent. I'm looking in the book bag every day. I'm checking in with homework. I am talking to the teachers and the
God, you know she's the most annoying motherfucker at PTA.
Principals, and I'm involved, but we didn't know that, during class, there were images shown of literal acts or describing certain situations that were inappropriate for young children.
We have a belief system at home, and the children want to break the boundaries of that belief system naturally because we're human beings. That's just what we do. And we're trying to confine them to a set of beliefs to say, this is what is right in our home. And we're seeing the schools get funding from Planned Parenthood. They tried to pass a bill to put medical facilities to offer abortions in high schools here in California. And it's gradual, right? It starts with, this is a book that has 2 dads. This is a book.
Bro, first of all, that's a great idea. Number one. Number two, you know that is 1,000,000% like a provision that allows like the school nurse to make like, as long as they have the proper certifications, to make like medical assessments on things like that, and then refer them to a clinic. And then conservatives took that and ran with like, they are forcibly aborting your teenage pregnant daughters.
Book with 2 moms. And it's just a gradual curiosity that could leverage and break away that child from the root in the home.
My education growing up was fully public education. College is where I started getting a curiosity for truth and education, and I think I'm so passionate about the education system today because it is obviously broken, but how do we fix it? Many of these progressive ideas in fixing it is just more empathy, sympathy, safety, but in reality, I see the public school system isn't actually accomplishing the goal of what education is, which is teaching critical thinking, how to understand, how to ask good questions.
I love that this guy thinks he knows how to do critical thinking. It's just like, you could not be further from the truth, my man.
And then comprehend how to problem solve.
Oh, God.
Action is racial discrimination.
I'm more annoyed that his haircut is cool.
There was a high school down the street from where I live in Los Angeles that encouraged all the kids of color to apply for their school play. And only once all the kids of color received whatever positions they wanted, then the white kids could apply. That, in my opinion, is an example of discrimination. The fact that we now have Harvard has black-only kids' dorms, that to me is segregation.
With affirmative action, we've seen with Harvard lawsuits and other things how it's backfiring and it's picking and choosing of which minorities can and cannot have success. It was done to try to create or make up for the wrongs of our past, but I think it's really backfired.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, excluding those excelling students in other races to fix the problems of the past, like you said. But I think the past, there were a lot of minorities that were excelling and doing really well.
Despite the foot of the
Exactly.
government and like.
Where? What? No, there weren't. What? No, they were like, what? Bro, he's not talking about like, what the fuck's he talking about? Is he like literally saying like, oh, in the past, like there was what, like some people really excelled at like what, fucking picking cotton? Like what the fuck's he talking about? The wrongs of the past are literally like slavery and segregation. Like what the fuck do you mean? What does he mean? The past like 10 years ago? Like what the fuck's he talking about? What kind of fucking take is this? I do not understand, Mr. Critical Thinking. What the fuck? It's quite literally, what the fuck? I have 100% bought shrooms for this dude at Grateful Dead concert. I actually don't understand what the fuck he's talking about. Like, what does he mean? Like outliers? Like he's talking about like the one fucking guy, you know, W.E.B. Du Bois. Like, you know, every now and then, like even in the segregation era, there were like people who were able to overcome immense amounts of discrimination. Or is he talking about the model minority myth? Because if he's talking about the model minority myth, like, yeah, dramatically different socioeconomic factors at play there. Notice how, like, here's the thing. This comes from, again, the white supremacist association with, like, assuming that all races are a monolith, right? All non-white races are a monolith. Like, they'll always say, like, oh, Asians. Okay, bro. When you say Asian, like, who are we talking about? Are you talking about people that are coming from, you know, China, that come from better socioeconomic backgrounds? Or are you talking about fucking Vietnamese people like that came to the United States of America under very different set of circumstances? Or are you talking about, you know, Southeast Asian people that, again, come into the United States of America under very different circumstances? The idea that like, you know, the idea that like all Asians are a certain way is such a fucking stupid thing. It is entirely dependent on the broad socioeconomic factors and whether there was like amnesty or refugee, like whether there was like a time when refugees were allowed. It's so dumb.
Yes.
Kudos to them.
Yes.
Incredible, strong human beings. And we shouldn't have that discrimination in any way anymore. But unfortunately, it has become a discrimination against other groups.
Yeah, it's racism. It is racism. If you are taking a group of people and judging them on their race and setting them aside, giving them a special treatment, if you are uplifting a person or you are trying to suppress a person because of their race, that is racism. So we're supposed to believe that someone like Barack Obama's children are like struggling because they're black? Like, that's ridiculous.
Damn, she just fucking owned racism, dude. That's awesome. She just owned it, dude. Everyone's always saying that, by the way. People are saying that systemic racism exists, which is why Barack Obama's children are suffering. That's what that means. To be fair, I'm going to be as charitable as I can to her because we live in a liberal, you know, we live under this like incredibly powerful liberal hegemonic culture. Obviously, the idea of class and your class position has been like completely wiped clean from our understanding of ourselves. So she can't even comprehend that like there could be one identifier that is more powerful than the others when determining someone's future. So that's it. That's where this fucking idiotic nonsense comes from.
Ridiculous. So I pulled my oldest daughter out a public school in Florida. We were having debates about pulling down statues and changing names, and some of the school board members and some of the activist groups were saying that black children could not learn because of names on buildings, and that is completely asinine to me. It basically says that because we have a higher level of melanin, somehow our brains don't work. And every other kid could walk into the building and get the education that they needed, but somehow.
God, I fucking hate, like, I hate how, like, I'm actually smarter than everyone she is, too. She's like, I'm in on something that no one else is. I'm a critical thinker, unlike the rest of the blacks. Like, okay, dude, chill. What the fuck? Like, you haven't arrived at like one fucking thing. You haven't arrived at like one correct position this entire time.
Now, not for you black children. And I found that to be just disgusting. And I did not want my children to have any type of idea coming from authority figures who believed in such things like that.
First of all, I would like to say that affirmative action programs, the biggest beneficiary according to the data, and this has been government data, has been white women first and foremost. Second of all, I would never use Barack Obama's kids as a barometer for anything because they do have privilege as well as Will Smith kids. But if we talk about Laquan Smith down the street that nobody knows, there will be some impediments based on his race. Yeah.
Why? How do you know that?
Because people do
What the fuck? Dude, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Class, dude. Class. Black people were systemically robbed of playing a fucking role in society that profited off of their labor for hundreds of fucking years. And then on top of that, even after the abolition of slavery, they were still utilized as a way to drive a wedge between the working class. Ultimately, there are two things here. You either think that Black people are across the board experiencing economic results that they do where they underperform as a consequence of intrinsic factors, where you literally have to admit that you are just a racist person and you think that like Black people are inferior or some shit, or external factors that are completely outside of their fucking control, which means systemic racism, which means you have to exist as systemic racism happened and it's still happening. That's it. It's not that hard to come to terms with this reality.
Tend to look and see race. What you were talking about is just racism, but when it's institutional and structural, it does something totally different. And when the black wealth gap is 100 years behind the white wealth gap in America, it'll take 100 years to catch up.
Why do you think that's because of racism, though? You take one.
Yeah, no. It's not totally. Slavery wasn't was defended on white supremacist grounds, or institutionalized, codified on white supremacist grounds. It was something totally different.
One thing and say that is the cause for every person of color.
The data
What data? What data is saying that black people are behind? Because there are many black people that aren't behind, that are doing much better than other people.
No, you're absolutely right. And there are outliers in every single community. There are very strong, members of the black community that are very affluent. There are also a majority that live in poverty. And if we see a bunch of cities that are majority person of color, and we're trying to recognize why have these places stayed at a very stable poverty line. But there are systemic reasons to why these communities are like that. How would you
I would say probably because of policies that are in those cities.
Yeah, no, she doesn't think it's racist policy. She's gonna hit the Thomas Sowell. Get ready for the welfare. Get ready for the welfare note.
Racist policies, absolutely.
Hold on, we gotta define terms. When would you say that?
Oh, they cut her off. Oh no, she was gonna hit the Thomas Sowell, dude. What the fuck? Yeah, she was gonna say like it's because black people are too addicted to the government dime. You know what I mean? That's what it is. She's about to say welfare, 100%.
Compton became the way that it is. Was it like that in the 40s and 50s?
No, it's a growth.
No, I'm asking you.
From redlining policies that were enabled.
In California?
Yeah, absolutely. California put in racist policies. I would never deny that.
Bro, this guy thinks California didn't have redlining. That's crazy. No, dude. Yeah, no, that's totally. Black people were like, we want to live right here and nowhere else. Also, it's hilarious because like it's this notion that like California isn't racist when it gave us Reagan and Nixon. Okay, no, you guys don't understand. Like, you guys don't understand. There are just white enclaves and black neighborhoods for no reason. Okay, guys, that just kind of happened. It wasn't like designed through financial tools and other systemic ways. That just kind of happened. It's so strange how that works, Yeah, it just spilled out that way. Yeah, oopsie.
All of these supposed solutions are actually hurting. Wouldn't a better solution be to teach our kids that we're all born in the image of God? We should all treat one another equally. And if you're or if you don't believe in God, then we're all equal, right? If you come from a poor neighborhood, whether you're black or Hispanic or an immigrant from anywhere, obviously you don't have the same privileges that somebody who comes from a wealthy community, but that has nothing to do with your color. I don't think that if you're an impoverished black kid or you're an impoverished white kid, one should receive a resource and the other shouldn't.
Would you say that it's economic then is the reason that causes these disparities?
Economic, but I don't think it's related to color.
But would you say if there's a majority of a particular group that lies underneath the poverty line in economic, race has anything to do with that?
It could, but it's just not blanket. You don't know. And why don't we look at the family?
No, it is. As much as I talk about class regularly, like, pretty obvious what happened, right? Like, black people experience classist violence on racial boundaries, okay? That's what it is historically. If you're going to think about it as like classist depression, yes, black people have been subjected to a permanent underclass position on the boundaries of their race. That's it. And the only way to fucking, the only way to right those wrongs is by offering reparations and some way of, one, originally recognizing those wrongs and then doing something about it in forms of restitution. But if those wrongs were committed on the basis of race, which they were, then the correction is also going to be racialized. Complaining about that is fucking stupid.
Families, the black families, who have done those amazing things in this country, and study what they did to succeed instead of just focusing on, oh, well, black people are behind and we don't even know what to do. Well, why don't we just go and look? Since you are a professor, wouldn't that be, you go and look at what has worked?
Well, I would never just go to you and just look at you. And I'm sorry, it's just the reality of the data. And so what I share...
Data can be broken up in umpteen different ways.
No, it can't.
Yes, it
No,
can.
actually,
You're a professor and you're saying that data cannot be manipulated?
Bro, yes, data can be manipulated, but like, that's true. But like, what do you think? Like, the data is manipulated? That, the data that shows black people having worse outcomes overall, if you strip them of every other quality, okay? If you look at a black middle class family and a white middle class family, and the black middle class family underperforms in comparison to the white middle class family, how do you think that happens? Why do you think that happens? Do you think that there aren't still racist policies in place?
This is why my kids do not go to public school anymore.
I don't, and I'm glad they don't.
I just think it's interesting. I'm thinking of like an anecdotal story I have. Last year, the school that I taught at, Deep East Oakland, I served majority black and brown students. Over 70% of our families under the poverty line. These are some of the hardest working people I have ever seen in my life. They get up, they have 2 or 3 jobs, 3 or 4 children.
I would argue
because of their economic status, right?
Because of liberal policies that is the government telling them that they can and cannot succeed, because of how high our property taxes are here, because we do not have school choice where they can take their dollars somewhere else. If you put...
Oh God, it's a conservative talking point machine, dude. And by the way, we found out that she is literally a conservative radio host. That's why you literally have like actual liberal teachers going up against someone who like professionally propagandizes. Okay. I hate that. Yeah. Super high property taxes are the reasons why, black people are suffering under our current economic conditions, which, by the way, famously white people don't pay property taxes. Man, if you're trying to fucking identify racial disparities, okay, then don't look at such broad, don't try to fucking, apply this insanely broad solution to it that almost immediately undermines the point that you're trying to make. It's like, oh, welfare, a dependence on welfare, liberal policies, taxes are too high. It's like, that's an interesting perspective, but like white people are paying those taxes too, so why are they not experiencing the same kind of fucking outcomes? Ironic considering black people pay less property tax than white people do because black people are less likely to even be homeowners. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, it's literally like saying, black people are falling behind white people in modern society because of the corporate the corporate tax rate or because of the top marginal tax rate. It's like, literally, statistically speaking, they're less likely to be impacted by the thing that you're talking about.
Those same families in redder districts in the country, like places in Florida and Texas or Virginia, where they have better options for their family, you would definitely see them be.
If that was the case, then they would be doing better. But you know, it's just crazy that they're not. At least she didn't say estate tax. Yeah, she forgot about that.
And where black and brown children are still underperforming in schools?
But coming from Florida, the school that I was at, it's graded from like A to like D, F. When I started there, it was a C school. Very poor performing. And technically, sure, they have school choice. They don't have state tests anymore. But they're still so badly performing. The community of it.
She's so mad. Oh my God, dude. That's crazy. You seriously think that black people aren't doing better in Texas than Illinois? You're crazy. First and foremost, I fucking despise people that have been so sucked into this idiotic propaganda that they think black people in southern states are doing better. That's number one. It's not even true. Number two, okay, you're not comparing black people in Texas to black people in Illinois. You should be comparing black people to white people in that same state. It's wild because not even white people that are well off in the South and black people still have it worse. Guys trying to deny it entirely. Yeah, that's the other part of the puzzle is that like, it's not even just black people in the South that are doing worse overall. White people in the South are doing worse overall as well. For literally the right-wing policies that she was talking about as a prescription to get away from racism. That's crazy.
Black, brown, very little white students in that community. But not to say that student of color can't be more affluent, but I think it's ridiculous to kind of say that color doesn't play a part into disparities and just disadvantages. So in Florida, a lot of people that I had encountered weren't kind to others, and sometimes I would have coworkers.
I currently live in Wyoming where people don't even know that racism exists, even though they're all racist. Probably they've just never met anyone else. Like I said, my wife is an Indian Muslim doctor. When she tells people she's Indian, they just think she's Native American. Bro, okay, you gotta stop. You gotta stop with these anecdotes. It's blowing my fucking mind. You have described nothing to me, okay? Like, you think you're saying stuff, but you're not saying anything. Please listen to your wife. She would probably urge you not to fucking type these things in the chat. It seems, please go talk to your wife about this experience.
Call students retarded and using racist slurs and things like that. And from my standpoint, hearing something like that, it disgusted me. My coworkers very quickly were able to kind of distinguish me from the rest. Like if I was gonna come to the teacher's lounge, more hushed conversation, people wouldn't share as much as they used to just because I would call out behavior like that.
People think my Indian Muslim wife is Native American. No racism here in Wyoming, by the way. That's such a funny take.
You know what? I'm going to disagree.
So I was really in between. I didn't really know how I felt about this issue at first. But then I started looking at places that had armed their teachers.
Oh no, they're fucking talking about teachers with guns make schools safer.
So I believe that model is
Bro, I feel like Jubilee makes these videos for me and me only, okay? I feel like this is like mathematically made to break my brain. I'm about to have a fucking aneurysm watching this. Like every subject, it's also like scientifically the dumbest people they could find.
It has to be voluntary.
Yes.
So the teachers have to want to do it themselves. They have to be well trained.
Yes.
They have to have background checks periodically. That has been successful.
If we're trusting teachers, which in some cases we do, in some cases we don't, but if my mindset is that if we're going to trust teachers to mold our children's minds and educate them, they're there for 8 hours a day. We should also trust and kind of enable them to protect themselves and our kids physically.
But you don't even trust them to teach your child. What? The first 22 minutes of this was literally, they're making my kid gay. I don't want that. So you don't even trust them to teach in general. Like you have a difference in opinion about the concept of teaching. The concept of education is one that you are upset about. Okay. Now you want to arm them, dude? What the fuck? I want these queer teachers to have weapons. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's just like they're just responding to shapes, sizes, and shapes and colors, dude. They're such lizard brained. Like I I pulled my children out of school and I'm homeschooling them now because, you know, they were teaching them gay shit. But also I want those gay ass teachers that have AR-15s. What? You don't trust them around a book. Why do you trust them around a weapon, dude? What the fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's so transparent that it's just like literally policy that has been hardwired into their brains that they're just spitting out. Internally, it makes no sense. It's like the irony of someone being like, I want all teachers to be armed and deadly, while also simultaneously saying you're pro-life. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that. I'm pro-life. That's why I think everyone should pay for healthcare. We need to paywall healthcare and important surgeries. That's how pro-life I am. You know, I ride or die for life, actually.
By no means should we ever...
Except for the pregnant mother. Fuck that woman if she's having a child and she doesn't want to have it.
Force a teacher to carry a gun, but if a teacher is willing to take on the responsibility of learning how to handle a weapon properly, I think that we should allow them to do that for us. And it frankly...
Bro, cops are supposed to be the most trained, like, in using their weapons. The NYPD active shooting target hit rate is like 7%. Okay? And those are the trained motherfuckers, supposedly. You know what I mean?
It would be an incredible service to us.
So if we try to understand what's the root, why is America solely have that problem, I would say it's a gun culture problem. So if the idea is, you know, should we try to remove aspects of gun culture that really pervade in our society, should we do that, or should we just increase the amount of firearms we can have in every single space, just so that way we're properly ready for a gunfight whenever
I want
it
to
comes
clarify
up.
gun culture. Are you saying that there's like the shoot 'em up, bang 'em up video games? Or are you saying
No,
the
I wouldn't say
individuals-
it's video games. I'd say institutions like the NRA that heavily impose, you know, you need to own not just firearms, but as many firearms as you can. I personally would not like to be armed. I do not want to take lethal action in the classroom, and I want to make it a safe and inclusive environment. Arming teachers is a response measure to particular violence that goes on in our schools here in America. And personally, I think we should focus more towards solutions to prevent these occurrences from happening, rather than just implementing responses implying that these actions will occur.
And I'm just going to be honest with you, you don't want me to have a gun, because I had to go back to therapy in the last few months. And so I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, what your plan was. But I would also say mental health.
He's like, some of your kids are such fucking shitters, I would pop off on them.
We got to understand, some of these school shootings are done because people have snapped.
People have natural biases and things like that, and people could act on those biases. Then they could be guns drawn and not a clear mind, you know? As a parent, how would you feel knowing that you don't know which teachers have a gun and you've had bad experiences with prior teachers? What if that teacher that absolutely, you know,
So
blown
my
up
answer... My answer to your question is, I feel the same way about the guard in front of my kid's school. I don't really know the guard, but he's gone through training, and
I love that. I love that. Well, first of all, that guard is literally also not equipped enough to deal with a fucking school shooting. Let's be real. You just are lucky enough not to ever have to test that. Secondly, okay, like, there is a systemic solution to this problem that revolves around the fucking guard, okay?
presume that he knows what he's doing. And frankly, I feel the same way about a police officer. I don't need the police officer, but they've gone through training and they were willing to take on that responsibility. And so I would apply the same logic. It's so interesting that you bring that up, because it really ties back to why I feel like we need to be careful about how much responsibility we're saddling teachers with teaching our kids values, right? On the one hand, the system is saying, trust our teachers, they know better than you parents. We should be able to teach them what they need to know about sexuality. On the other hand, you guys are admitting that many teachers...
The guards are the first ones to dip out of there, bro. Also, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, bro, die. You know what I mean? To a dude who's, like, getting paid literally minimum wage, okay? And in most instances doesn't have fucking guns to begin with. Cops, on the other hand, they're at least getting paid enough, okay? And we're praising them. The expectation is that they are supposed to fucking dive in front of the bullets, okay? Guards are just there to do security theater, okay? It's like TSA. They're not there to, like, actually stop terrorism, okay?
Are not really checked for mental issues. We don't really know what is happening in these classrooms.
I'm not
We
saying
don't
that
know about
teachers
what
are not
friction.
checked. We very frequently have like professional development days where we got self-care. So I wouldn't say many by any means. And when I'm coming into the workplace, I'm not bringing in all my baggage. As to say, you know, you go into your work, you're not like, oh, I'm so depressed, my kid's this,
So
that.
why, if there is a teacher who is willing to step forward and will go through the training and will go through the screening, why not empower them to save our kids? I mean, in Uvalde, if there was a teacher.
Bro, can you imagine, like, Oklahoma teacher salary is like 27 grand a year. They're like, here, take a gun. Now you have to fucking defend against some psychotic fucking students snapping and bringing an AR-15 to school. It's like, yeah, you got no benefits, okay? You got no benefits. You're getting paid 27 grand. Shut the fuck up and defend the school. It's like, bro, I mean, that's crazy.
Who could actually save those children? Then maybe
Yeah, she's the
we would not
CEO
have
of Prager
seen
U.
so
Yes,
much
I
death.
know.
When we place teachers with a firearm in the classroom, it takes the instance of a violent occurrence from a possibility in the minds of these children to an inevitable.
That's what that fucking idiot is, the CEO of Prager U, bro. Can you imagine? Just a regular concerned parent, you know what I mean? By the way, if your job is to be the CEO of a propaganda outlet, like, you should literally have better talking points, okay? It's unacceptable how fucking stupid you are with your talking points. You're the CEO of Prager U. Oh my God.
But the children don't know. It is a concealed and carry weapon that has gone through the process of the local sheriff's department, background check, training, checkups,
no one knows
everything.
But the teacher
No one knows.
and the police
I have a
department.
logistical question.
Yeah.
Does this teacher have the gun on them?
Yes.
You wouldn't
It is
know.
holstered on them?
At all times.
It's a concealed carry.
It should never be in a place of a child.
It's illegal
No,
to
I know what a
brandish.
concealed
I
carry
just
is,
want to
but
clarify.
my thing and why this question sort of enrages me. Why are we asking teachers to carry guns? When did this become an occupational hazard? When did we walk into school and people were like, by the way, you could be shot today, so maybe you want to have your Glock strapped on you because who knows, this might be your last day on earth. That is ridiculous. If you 50 years ago were to look at a teacher and be like, hey, do you want to hold this gun with you? You know, like, you might need it. They're going to scratch their heads and look at you funny. This is opening up a bigger conversation, right? But I think that even though it is voluntary, right, we still need to have this conversation. Like, it still needs to happen of why, even if a teacher was willing to carry a gun to school, they are even having to be asked to do.
The funniest part about that is, like, the likelihood that if you fucking arm teachers, like, the likelihood of school shootings happening is going to increase tenfold.
Do that in the first place.
Teachers are not.
Oh, Sean.
Every day I wake up and I hand to you guys the most precious thing in my entire life. I think that it's important.
Jubilees enable right-wing propaganda to appear more legitimate by allowing pundits on one side to be pitted against everyday people on the other side. Except no, but I think they should still disclose that these are pundits that they have on the right-wing side. Mason is the HasanAbi head.
That our society will reflect how much we value you guys. I think that you should receive bonuses if you do a great job. If you're able to represent all of us as Americans, both conservatives and liberals, and you're able to speak on our behalf and take care of our children, we should reward you for that, and you should feel rewarded for that. And so I don't know exactly what you make, but I think it is really important that we invest in you and we pour into you. And when I see the entire budget that the state of California, for example, spends on education, and I realize that a sliver fraction of it only goes to you guys, it breaks my heart, and frankly, it makes me so angry.
By the way, you're the CEO of Prager U, so, like, your solution is to, like, just completely destroy the public education system. I wonder if she'll say it's because of the student unions, it's the teacher unions. That's the reason.
I don't need more bureaucrats. I need more good teachers.
I left the K through 12 and went to the community college, and I do pretty well. I'm going to be clear with that. But also, I have a
So
master's.
you're not oppressed. Thank
So
God.
I have a master's, but I had to work really hard to get.
God, ew. That's so bad. That's so bad. So whack. God, conservatives are so stinky. They're just so gross. Yuck.
But I'm also in a doctoral program, and you're right, I'm paying out of pocket too. Again, I had a student the other day saying, I can't pay my electric bill. How much is your electric bill? I'll pay your electric bill. And so I put up students in hotels because they have nowhere to live. I have a student who doesn't have a family. He told me the other day, I need a dad. I said, I'll be your father, because it just broke my heart that a 19-year-old is in this world alone, doesn't have family.
Yeah, I would be scared to, like, calculate how much I spent for my classroom, right? Like, all the materials, all the things that I'm purchasing, all the things that I'm doing. And it's just interesting to think that we are always told, like, teachers are heroes, they're teaching the youth of America, but also we're not going to give you enough money to survive comfortably. Like, you're going to struggle every day. There have been days when I go to work and I'm like, am I going to have money to put gas in my car? I guess we're going to find out.
chat being like, oh, I need a father, bro. Come on, dude. I'm the father that stepped up every day.
Right? And I know so many other teachers who are struggling to keep afloat. I can't even imagine I can't even think about having a family as a teacher. I think that growing up, I was not the strongest student. I didn't necessarily see the point in what we were doing. And I think that ultimately that felt like it was because education was something that I had to get through, not necessarily something that I was obtaining. But I think what really pushed me to go into teaching was wanting to give kids a space where they didn't feel the way I feel growing up, where they felt like they had power to make choice in their education and that their education could be powerful in aiding them to do what they wanted to do.
So I'm not a teacher. I don't know how much you guys make. And I'm not going to use you as the example. I'm going to use a friend of mine. She's been at a school for a number of years. I want to say it's 6, 7, 8 years, and she's become tenured. And through her tenureship, she's accumulated so much wealth. I'm appalled at how much she's making because she teaches Spanish to 6th grade.
Bro, she said, I'm appalled. Yo, you're a bad friend, dude. That's not a friend. That's an enemy, okay? You're just a bad person in general, and certainly a bad friend. Crazy to me.
Graders, and she's making over $150,000 a year.
Can I ask you a question? What kind of school does she work at?
Public school. And so
I
for
mean, how
me,
much experience goes on with that too?
It must, I'm assuming, because you've invested into your career, which I think everybody should. But for me, I look at it as you're making $150,000 in 9 months.
The prompt very clearly was, are teachers paid enough?
Yes.
And I mean, we're not. I've had to work second jobs doing DoorDash just because I wasn't making enough. If you look at these shoes, they are ripped, they are broken. From a teacher wish list, I could not even buy these shoes myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't make enough money.
So I wanted to clarify, this isn't an absolute. I'm not saying that every teacher is paid enough. I have no idea what your salary is. I have no idea any of those details. I'm just recognizing that if a teacher is getting 9 months and their salary is in 9 months, they get a summer off. Most of society isn't given 3 months to just go on
That's assuming
vacation.
they have 3 months. I'm an 11-month employee. For 1 whole month out of the year, I'm not paid anything, nothing. I have to figure out my funds, save money that I don't have to try to supply for a month and a half. I don't get supplementary income. Like, that doesn't happen.
Well, I'll go first. My daughter, same teacher actually, who was asking about her pronouns.
Bro, they say she makes 150K. I don't believe that. It's a lie.
She said that she was going to be introducing some race-themed books. My daughter recorded this conversation in class. So what proceeded to happen is she started to talk to the children in their, I guess, identity groups. Oh, as an African-American child, how are you discriminated against? As an Asian child, she went through all of except white people. It became
Goddamn, dude.
total chaos in the classroom. There was no education going on here. They were just literally going at each other, talking about who was more oppressed. It's not a matter of if something was.
The oppression of black people in America, in like American history, and its contemporary examples, its contemporary ramifications, is not educational. Is a very strange argument to make. It's a very weird argument to make. If that's not educational, then let's not even teach any history. Like, why are we teaching history at all at that point? You know, what the fuck?
Was racist, it's a matter of when something was racist or how the racist thing happened. So they automatically assume, critical race theorists, that racism is embedded into every single thing. How do you look a child, specifically a black child, in the eye and tell them, I'm sorry for you because of your skin color? There's no hope for you in the greatest country literally for them, because black Americans are the most successful black people in the entire world. And then turn around and look at a white child and say, sorry, you're responsible for the atrocities of 200 years ago.
All I have to add to that is that in our home and with our faith, I teach my children that it is awful to make someone feel hopeless or pitied. You're damning them to a future of failure if you are telling them, oh, I pity you and I'm going to do these things for you, instead of coming alongside them and supporting them and doing something for themselves that pulls them out of that hopelessness. And I think that those are two of the worst things that we can do as a broader society.
You know what I love about America? My mother immigrated from Morocco. She's a Jewish person. Everywhere around the world, we're known as the Jew. In America, we're known as American. And I think there's something so powerful about empowering.
Yeah. Now try that for, Latino people, black people, Asian people. It's kind of at the heart of like whiteness, as a matter of fact. It's like someone said, except by Kanye. No, but that is what it is. It's like, yeah, she feels white. She's welcomed in white circles. Maybe not for too long, but at least for the time being, she feels comfortable. That's it. It's at the heart of this argument. There's a lot of people that do not feel that way. There's a lot of people that are not made to feel that way.
Empowering any community to be American and to succeed based on your own merit. We don't look back into why we can't. We look into why we can. And so when my family taught me since I was a little girl, I can, I learned that I could. And that's why I think this country has empowered me so much. I want to see the same thing for kids of all colors in the United States. But if we're teaching them that there is no hope for them and that people will always look at them in a different way, then how are they going to hear the message of I can? My question for liberal teachers is, do they think that it's the right place for them to impose liberal ideas in classrooms, knowing that they have many students who come from conservative families? And I find that many of the schools have become battlegrounds for those kinds of ideas. And when teachers are bringing those issues to the classrooms, it's forcing families and conservative kids to have to address these issues. And we believe that they're simply too young to deal with those kinds of complex matters at that age.
I'm sorry for your experience, because you shouldn't have to go through that. Nobody should have to go through that. I don't tell my son you can't do anything. I have told my son you have to work twice as hard. I have to tell my son you're a black man in America. There's certain things you need to do to survive.
I mean, first, I think the idea that we are teaching children in critical race theory in schools is ridiculous. As he pointed out, this is a high level, like university level framework. You are not going to walk into like Isabel's elementary school 5th grade classroom and see Isabel telling these people about the legal structures. In my opinion, how I define myself as an American, right? I define myself as someone who is proud of my country, someone who can look at the mistakes that my country has made in the past and the things that are keeping other people oppressed and recognize that these are still existing and that we need to work towards changing that. So I don't see how critical race theory could be anti-American, because that's how I define American. And I think it's very nuanced because people define American in many different ways,
I actually
right?
don't completely disagree with your definition of it. I think that maybe you think it's systemic and I think it's the individual. But I think that even in nuanced ways, like the example that she gave, I've heard examples where my nieces have been segregated in the classroom at 4th and 5th grade. And like, well, did this happen to you? Do you have a 2-parent home? Are your grandparents raising you? And like, there's this line of victimhood. And as a woman that has dealt with sexism, I do definitely teach my daughters, like as a girl in this country, it is going to be a different experience than your father had. But I don't think it's beneficial at all to kind of institute that victimhood in their long-term mentality, because then you actually start to see kids that are like, oh, well, they're different than me, so therefore their life could be better or worse than mine. And instead of engaging with those people, they step away.
I don't believe that there's a victimhood to it. I think it's just kind of amplifying that, hey, this is the truth, this is what happens, and
well, what if we thought about sexism in school? Should be like, fuck no. Yeah, I don't even. It depends. Some white ladies, conservatives care about things that impact them, right? Yeah, for all the decades we've been teaching about slavery, the feelings of black kids have never been a national politics issue. As soon as Karen thinks her kids are uncomfortable, a whole coalition of puffy white vest politicians found their moment. I mean, it was done. It was done deliberately. Like, they saw that as a successful way to propagandize. I mean, we know who started it. Christopher Rufo at the Manhattan Institute recognized that this was an opportunity to cut propaganda. And he does not shy away from openly admitting that that was the reason why they did it too. Like, that's it.
Let's move forward with that. Having that knowledge to be able to kind of navigate through life is better than just, oh, well, I assume I'm the same as, my white counterpart. Oh, why is she able to do this? Why does she have this opportunity that I don't have?
But they're the same.
But she has that opportunity.
They are the same, is what we're saying.
I think what the difference is, we're stating normative statements, and you guys are claiming that we're presenting prescriptive claims. So the normative statement that we're presenting is,
bro, come on. You think that they know the difference? Come on, Mason.
These events happen in American history. These are the outcomes that have led from those events. What you guys are saying is we're then adding prescriptive statements, which is that's why you should never really try, because you'll never make it in this country.
That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that if you negatively press a child with these thoughts, that will be the outcome, because that's how human beings work. This is a psychological fact.
Oh my God. Oh
I
my
believe
God.
it is a
Again, fundamental disagreement with government, the existence of government. Remember, when conservatives say like, oh no, that shouldn't be the government's job, like, they're actually just saying there shouldn't be a government, okay? The quicker you understand that, the quicker you grasp that, the easier everything will be. They just don't understand how it will work without it, and they just don't want it in general because they just don't understand how it would work because it wouldn't without the government.
Job. Look, our funding comes through government. I mean, our schools are government entities, so it is. Policies are government. Everything's government. I mean, if you're in public education, you're in government. We're bureaucrats. That's literally our job. So it is government's job. So yeah, I believe it is. I believe it is the job of the government because schools are government. That's literally what they are. They're government institutions.
Yes, I completely agree. Government provides a certain quality to education. Obviously, they haven't provided those funds, they haven't provided those policies that are pro-teacher or anything like that. So it really shows in our education, in kids, and all around. We're just not at the quality that other countries are at.
Let's see what Mason has to say. I'm interested to hear.
I was going back and forth because what a government is, you know, oftentimes is characterized as like this entity of like a group of people up there deciding what goes on. Where no, like government is just collective organization. Does the government have a role in education? Absolutely. I think that parents have to play a role as well, and you know, not only being involved with what their kid is learning in school, but also you know, reinforcing strong educational skills. And that doesn't happen unless there is parent involvement. I know the kids that are being worked on at home versus the kids that aren't. And it plays out in test scores, it plays out in their engagement in class, and it plays out in their behavior.
You have to remember that we're a representative government, that it's based on the people, right? And so these public school systems are waiting for the parents to come in and say, this curriculum is not what I want to teach my kids. We, the taxpayers, control the curriculum, but the problem is we haven't been engaging in that system because we've been so distracted and pulled away from the education from our kids.
No, I would agree. The communities need to absolutely be more involved in their school boards and what's going on in education. And unfortunately, we don't have that. And oftentimes, a lot of politicians, albeit Republicans that are trying to cut a lot of social programs and a lot of social investment, as well as corporate Democrats who want to cut a lot of social investment, both of those, you know, we see areas of corruption within our education.
Well, and let's be clear on what we're talking about government is. So when we talk about on a local level, it is government. That's literally what government is. When your kid goes into the school, they're going into a government institution. So I think when we're talking, we're not talking about parents not being involved. I want you involved. Heck, please be involved. So I think our issue, when we were talking about government, we weren't talking about excluding parents. We were talking about it is government's job to make this entity, which is public education, function. It has to. If government's not involved, you have no money.
So you guys teach in government schools, public schools. Essentially, you're teaching a
Gross.
diverse student body. You have conservatives, you have liberals. How can you better represent us, half of this country? It's sadly causing us to lose faith in you guys. We want to support you guys. We want to send our kids to your schools and your classrooms.
And I think that when we talk about all these differences, you know, how do we sort of represent both?
How can we better? Oh my God, I love that. That's fire, dude. First of all, the notion that like half of the country is conservative is a silly one. It's not true. Or like Republicans or something. Secondly, it doesn't matter. Like if the demonstration of your values revolves around like, I don't know, shitting on certain subsects and certain demographics of students, then you don't get representation in that matter. Okay? You don't go to Applebee's and you're like, I'm sorry, literally Applebee's needs to only serve vegan food. Okay? That's crazy. Like your interests cannot be exclusive to others. Your interests and your wants cannot inherently exclude other people. That's crazy. Your political worldview and the demonstration of your politics revolves around oppressing people. If that's the case, then shut the fuck up. You know, you're not going to get that kind of representation. They're like, why don't you represent my diverse interests, which literally revolve around eliminating diversity? That's insane. But that's insane. Of course, that's not going to be demonstrated in policy. That's not going to be demonstrated in schools. Like Kenyon said it best. Like I'm not here for your 7 kids. I'm here for 290 other kids. Okay, I'm here for everybody. I'm a teacher. I'm teaching everyone, not just your fucking child.
Both of these sides, right? How do we bring these people together? I think it's also really important to remember that historically this curriculum is one-sided in favor of conservative views, in favor of supporting white students, not students of color, right? And so I think that we really, as a country, need to take a look at our education system. I think we can all agree that there needs to be a lot of change in the system, right? And look at how we can build a system that represents, reflects, validates the experiences and identities of everybody.
Beautiful. That was good, girl.
Man, that was hard as fuck to watch, dude.